morning to another Wake Up and Deliver. Where's that intro you promised me, John?
Oh, I know. I was just saying the other day, I'm like, I got to get this thing sorted out because I did figure out you can install this virtual mic thing, patch cable type thing with OBS, and you can push it in. So I do got to get that. I have to get that next week. We'll get it going for sure.
We need it back to the old 90s radio hosts where they had those random buttons and we make those random sounds like wake up and deliver.
You can buy those things actually. They're cheap. They're all over Amazon. Well, some are cheap, some are pretty expensive actually.
How do they deliver? That's the question. Do they deliver?
Yeah, that's true. So
welcome everybody. Good morning, as always, to another Wake Up and Deliver, episode 34. We're marching on through. I don't know if we have an interesting topic, but I think we're going to get into some good conversation.
We got some few things. I could tell you about another Amazon experience too.
But is it the one that the guy was throwing it from the street at the door? The video.
Oh man, that post blew up, man. Everyone likes videos, I guess, of packages going airborne across the lawn.
On that note, we need some brain food. Wake us up, because as you can see, we're quite tired.
Gas.
John, you ready for this one? This one's epic.
Well, I guess so. We're gonna find out.
Boom. Move like you're late and wait like you're early.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's good. Like, I don't mind. I like that one, and yeah, I don't know. It's good advice. keep it moving. You know, in all fairness, I mean, maybe it's a supply chain, like a logistics thing, but oh my God, does like lateness irritate me to no end. It's like, we all knew what time we said, you know, if we wanted 7:30, we could have said 7:30. We didn't agree on 7, so that then you could show up at 7:30.
So it's funny when it comes to work wise, obviously scheduling everything. I'm very meticulous, trying to be as on time as possible, doing everything as meticulously correct as possible. When it comes to my personal life, man, am I late all the time. I just don't like scheduling things. You ask me, hey, you want to hang out next Thursday? I'll be like, I don't know. Ask me on Thursday. I don't want to plan. I don't want to plan my day to day kind of thing. Work wise, all the time.
Actually, I think to be honest with you, that has it's probably because it's the same thing. Like, so, you know, when I was in corporate environment and stuff like that, super often, like, at those sort of national levels or whatever, all your job is pretty much to make decisions, like, constantly, like that's really the job. And you get home, it's like, what do you want for dinner? Like, I don't care. It's like, I don't care.
Just please decide.
Yeah, it's like what do you want to do? This whatever you want. The kids got to do this, sure, whatever. It's just like you're just so tapped, right? It's like the Obama effect times 100. He's like, I've only got so many decisions in me a day. I'm never deciding what color suit I need to wear. It's one
exactly.
or two.
Yeah, clothing is just whatever's on the top shelf. It's like, this is the top. And my wife even like rotates it for me as well. She goes, laundry at the bottom, so just keep them, because otherwise I wear the same shirt all the time.
Wow, look at you. You got the laundry FIFO going almost, like you're just rotating it.
It's like Morehouse. It's FIFO.
Wow.
Okay, we can end the show on that one. That was a good one. Mike, drop that mic. We're done.
He's like, what are you doing? There's 4 minutes in. Save that.
Yes, we're so logistically supply chain conditioned. We're FIFO in our laundry rooms as well, in our closets.
Oh my God. Well, my partner works in operations, and like my daughter heard us talking, and she's like, oh my God, you guys actually talk about that? You're saying this, she's saying that. It's ridiculous. She's like, how do you guys even? It's like, this is terrible. She just like walks out of the room. Anyways, random. You guys getting a good dose of like personal knowledge this morning about Matt and I. There you
go. All we talk is supply chain, and we live it with our laundry.
It's like, oh my God, I used to think these guys were cool. No, anyways.
Anyways, moving on. Hey, on a serious topic, because I think it's a good topic we were talking about a little bit before the show. Maybe it's a good topic to lead into, because we are going into the fourth quarter fairly soon. Burnout.
Yeah.
Burnout is happening, I think, as people tighten up doing everything they do, because there's less money, there's less going on. They're cutting staff. More work goes on to people. I think burnout is going to be a major problem for a lot of companies coming
Well,
into
so
fourth quarter this year.
do you remember like the quiet quitting thing that went around at one point, like towards
Yeah.
the end of COVID? Anyways, I saw the other day, and this is so bad because I can't remember it, but it was like it was like, for lack of a better term, it was like essentially quiet burnout. It was like basically like all of these people in the workforce right now feeling super overwhelmed because of things like with AI, because of the instability in the job market, because of how many companies are doing different things. It's like productivity in a lot of organizations, to your point, is like kind of tanking because everyone's just like, they're kind of like cooked, and they're like, it's like, but they don't want to say anything. They're just like trying to like do those like
Bare
bare
minimums.
minimums in the same way that like quiet quitting was. But like, this is like not because I'm angry and I'm fighting the man. It's like I'm done. Like I got nothing left in the tank.
Well, not only that is that they've reduced the workload because a lot of companies thought AI is the answer. They adapted AI early, but the adaptation wasn't in a sense of it's perfect. Is the best way I guess I could put it. And there's a lot of errors and it's inefficient. But they got rid of the workforce that understood the work, and the agents aren't doing the work correctly because it still has to be very much checked. And even if it's a repetitive work, there's nothing we do in logistics ever repetitive. And there's mistakes that need to be watched. But as you remove people, you can only watch so much. And I think people are going to feeling that burnout because it's like, well, you hired all this AI to take a workload away from me, but I feel like I have to do more work. And now I have a system that I don't completely understand, and you guys haven't trained me on it because nobody really understands it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like that's super fair. And then, I think that you're right. Like there's this huge shift in expectations. You know what I mean? Like, and that to me is like one of those things, is that like, like if you're a transportation company, you're a warehouse or whatever, it's like, how at one point do you kind of expect more performance while also holding people just accountable, if then all of a sudden too you're like disconnecting them from like the train of thought, like that chain of thought kind of like about it, because it's kind of weird. It's like, well, how are you going to get so much better? I mean, I think that there's going to be a real difference in the next few years between just like essentially ability to perform or to like stay on task and just follow instructions versus understanding innovation and change. And I have a feeling a lot of organizations aren't going to realize how much they may impact their ability to evolve and to change by leaning so heavily into just faster basic execution, if you kind of like wrap it a little bit like that.
I want to know if creativity will be something that you don't see anymore. Because people creativity comes out from the mundane task that you're doing. You're trying to figure out a better way to do it. But an AI system doesn't have that sense, because every AI system right now just takes the vast knowledge that we've already inputted into it and takes the highest probable answer and does it. There's no Michelangelo in there to create something new. It just takes replicas of Michelangelo's and everybody else and says, this is the highest probability of the next best thing. It's not creative or in that sense. So when people come up with a eureka moment, it's based off of usually a creativity. Like, I'm fiddling with something, I'm working on something else, and you make that, oh shit, this will work, and you connect and you have that creativity moment. I'm curious how much of that we're going to not have in the future, because people are using it as a replacement, like I've been saying the whole time and you've been saying, and not a tool to help support a lot of those tasks that you want to support you, so you can open that more of that creativity. AI in my mind is still a tool to help support you to open up your creativity and be able to provide more.
I agree. I think that that's where you have to go. Actually, there's a really interesting interview that Stephen Bartlett does, Diary of a CEO, with one of these like sort of AI space researchers and whatever, and literally saying that like people get dumber by using AI because of that, because they're not thinking. So anyways, there's that. But then, so here's an interesting one that connects with what we're saying. So if we're thinking about, your could you be potentially losing knowledge? Could you be potentially like eroding your ability to be creative and solve things in a different way? last week I posted about a company called Away, which is there. And I really hate when anyone does this, by the way. If you are a company out there and your pitch is to define yourself by some already existing company, I really think you need to retool that. Anyways, they're calling themselves the Uber for freight, which is kind of funny considering Uber has Uber Freight. But anyways, these guys are all about, and we've talked about this before, but this I think just wraps this whole like, kind of idea in a bow. It's like their thing is basically like trying to, let's say, raise awareness on the fact that there's a lot of air that ships, every day in all of these things, which I tell you straight up, everyone who makes that argument is because they lack some real fundamental logistics understanding. But anyways, there's a lot of air that's shipping. There's a lot of available capacity. So essentially like this concept of like, let me connect this capacity with shippers. Let me make it dynamic pricing so that, everyone wins. And you and I have talked a lot about this. I mean, I really think dynamic pricing is well beyond the average person's real understanding and appreciation. And my real concern with dynamic pricing from a service provider's perspective is that it makes it exceptionally hard to educate your potential customers or to ensure that they have the right understanding, which I think doesn't happen very easily, which means your price actually ends up keep coming down.
Yeah, the concept of what you're saying, these air shippers, a lot of the customers want exclusivity and they don't care about the air in there.
But even more fundamentally, I need to get something from X to Y, or I need to meet these requirements. I need it in this way. I have these constraints, whatever. The reality is,
isn't that just LTL? Aren't we just reinventing LTL and calling it something different at that point?
But that's kind of what it is. It is actually more of a play, like essentially on LTL, because you're right. And if there's available capacity in trucks and people don't care about their loads being shared or whatever, it is much more like an LTL setup, short of maybe like, ooh, I've got 20 pallets and not 30, you know what I mean? Or something like that, or you know what I mean? Or not 26 or whatever it could be. But the point being is that it's a hybridized type of LTL thing for sure. But I just really think that it's, I don't know. Like I said, it always amazes me, like these platforms that come up and be like, well, look at this. There's so much air that's shipping. It's like people ship air because they can. And let me highlight to you like an example. So this is something that touched me recently.
You heard this first. People ship air because they can.
Well, no, but
full stop.
meaning in the sense that it's
I'm kidding.
meaning that it falls into a value proposition that's fine for themselves. So if I'm a shipper today, and this happens a lot with like ocean freight, for example, right? And especially when you're not like top tier, high volume, and like you make millions on pennies, like this is especially where it applies. But it's like, even if I buy a full container and even if I don't fill it, if my cost of delivery or my cost of transportation, if I break it down per unit, per pallet, whatever, like I'm still okay with, or like it fits into my revenue model, I don't necessarily care. And it's not breaking my back at the moment that there might be 2 or 3 added, you could squeeze 2 or 3 more pallets on there. Right.
It might make it worse. It might make it more inconvenient. It might make your agility less agile.
Actually, that's so true. And, I've said to people before in the fact that depending on what you're shipping to, you also have to be mindful of what could be in there, because like maybe your product doesn't get ruined by like maybe a bad smell, for example, or like picking up an odor from something else, but like maybe it's not the best version of your product. If it is, like, imagine like, you ship a bunch of t-shirts and
they smell like cinnamon.
Yeah, well, or just some other spice, or like something that unfortunately,
or the new car smell, new car smell things that you put in your car. They just ship them together, and all of a sudden your shirts smell like new cars, and you're like, this is not right.
Which is kind of trashy. No, I'm just saying, but like, no, but so very often that's what people don't kind of give up. And, to your point, right? Like, I'm sure you must have seen, obviously situations with the work that you guys do at Monarch and stuff where it's like, hey, I have a customer They have specific appointment times. They have certain lead times. They have promises they want to keep. Like, they're not necessarily overly concerned that there might still be additional space on there if kind of all of the unit economics work. And that's why I think that these platforms that just think that it's a matchmaking service, like the Freight Tinder, like I really think that they're misled here big time.
He already copyrighted that. So if anybody's watching, it's John. If you look it up, Freight
We
Tinder
got
is
it
already
all.
there.
Yeah,
You get pictures of containers, trailers, big trucks, little trucks, everything in between.
It's like, is it painted? Is it factory white? Like, what are the options?
Where's the warehouse located? Ooh, it's close by, within 12 kilometers. We have open space close to you.
You see someone turning the page, they're like, oh wow, matte finish.
Look at this warehouse.
Wow.
We took a different turn today.
Yeah,
I hope nobody watches today's show.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's funny because I think, you have a little bit of humor, you break it in, but I mean, these are like the legitimate type things that I think create a lot of potential confusion. I think there definitely can be benefits. I think that, they're probably overstated. I had someone DM me today about my post that I did over the weekend, and they were like, how come you're always like kind of trashing like the gig platforms and stuff? I'm like, I'm not, like, and this is for last mile stuff. I'm like, I'm not trashing the gig platforms. I do think though that there needs to be a bit of balance, because I said a lot of them really make some bold claims for the fact that they're essentially doing a traditional capacitized routing model, with a lot more routes and a lot less kind of like sophistication and stuff like that than someone like an Amazon uses, for example, or UPS even, or whatever. So I said, I think it's just a bit of balance, because, I don't think it's beneficial to any shipper to only be getting like one side of the story, So I said, my real position is that I think everything has its, kind of winning conditions, or where things make sense. And I don't think necessarily having just one weapon or one design is the best for anyone, regardless of who the partner is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the race to the bottom is going to take a big flip in the next little bit as well. Like all these platforms that say they can find a better price, I think I'm going to see major adjustments as the English laws start applying more. So right now it's for truckers, but imagine if it starts applying for last mile deliveries and such, where your mom in a minivan can't make that delivery anymore, because to be transporting you have to have proper English driver's license. And that's going to change a lot of the dynamics of how cheap you can get that product. And I think it's going to be becoming far more difficult to find that race to the bottom. And then it's going to start flipping to, how do I find the best service? And how do I find the best service for the value that I want to get, and for the efficiency that I want to get there? And to your point that you and I always talk about, it's also about that density, right? Like, how do we get more density into that same area? And how do we get more regional players coinciding and working together and creating those strategic partnerships? Because it's not collusion. And I know that's an industry bad word, but if we had more companies working together, you would have far better pricing as well, because they can be dynamic in how they price. Be like, hey, I have a very strong position from Ohio to Pittsburgh, and then my partner has a very good position from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. Can we work on a trailer interchange between ourselves so we can help within our strengths and work that out, versus I'm going to figure out how to get all the way to Philadelphia from Ohio at that point. And it's not that collusion. And there's a few companies out there that are doing very similar things to that. And I think those ones are the better rated ones. And you've seen a few of them to a similar platform, but they're working on, how do we interchange the trucks and the capacity with the drivers to help make it as many loaded miles as possible for all the drivers. And it's the same thing as, a driver drops a package off at your door. He doesn't bring anything back. How often do you have something in a ship that could be back to that person, whether it's a return or not, that you're not giving to that driver, right?
Yeah, returns though. I'm like, I think the best thing that anyone could do. Like the post office, the best thing the post office could do would be essentially own the infrastructure and like put a return box like there to allow people to pick up or do, do something else or whatever. I think until we get more consolidation, like dropping off one-to-one deliveries and picking up one-to-one pickups is gonna just continue to like, just grind down the industry. I think it's only going to continue to get worse as your average order volume or average order value, not volume, comes down.
To tie it back together, it's going to burn people out and burn out companies. And you're seeing that. You're seeing a lot of companies already, even Uber Freight. I think recently I was reading that they're really debating about dropping the Uber Freight aspect of it because it's just not making the money anymore.
Yeah, well, it never has really made money. I don't think it has at all. Maybe I don't know. It's been a little bit since I looked at their financials, but I don't think Uber Freight as its own segment ever has really made money. But I will double check that and maybe put something in the comments or whatever. But okay, let's shift a little bit because we're burning our morning here super quickly. Did you see? We talked about this. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. You jumped on my. I thought I had it such a good one. Did you see the new UPS activity happening?
Oh, I think you got me on this one.
Oh, I got you this time. So remember, they were buying out drivers, right? And the drivers are just like disgusted by it. Well, now they're buying out managers, operations managers, and stuff because of all the facilities and things like that they want to close. They're trying to get a bunch of people to sign on to take packages to leave the organization. They didn't give any numbers. I couldn't find any numbers on that one. Unlike the drivers, probably just because of the union, non-union kind of setup. But curious that obviously they're still continuing to try to readjust their labor force, and now they've moved from the drivers into the managers and site supervisors, I think, and stuff like that.
I think what's more interesting is how much of that is that's connected, but how much of that is being affected by, I don't know if you read about this, about other countries stopping their ship into the United States because of the tariff uncertainty. So Deutsche Post is what you're talking about right now? Is that
the other thing that I wanted to bring up was exactly this, with DHL, Royal Mail, whatever. There you go.
And how much of that is going to affect the amount of volume that DHL, FedEx, and might it increase? It might it decrease because other companies are like, we're just not going to ship there anymore. And how much of that is going to affect the U.S. Post because they're not going to get as much packages, obviously, because they're going to have to use third parties because postal services, as a political science major, is one of the oldest international relations company organization out there. All the countries in the world have agreed how to use it, and if they're not shipping, U.S. Post is not making that revenue because it's like a revenue share program all the way through. So that and they're already struggling. That's going to affect them a lot more.
There's lots of stuff going on, and the funny thing is, with UPS and FedEx kind of shedding a certain type of customer segment, does USPS try to pick it up in lieu of? But at the same time, this is also kind of like the customer segment that all of the regional sort of players are vying for as well, right? Gig work platforms, regional delivery providers, service providers, whatever. So super kind of interesting to see some of these different things and how they're all tying together. It should be an interesting end to the year because you're essentially into September now. If you're still having challenges about what you're going to bring in or whatever, you're probably not in the best spot. So I'm curious what the holiday season will be like this year in both the US and Canada.
I think I'm curious to see it everywhere. To be honest, I think it's going to be a very different fourth quarter than we've seen in previous years, and I think your numbers that you've had are going to be different. And the only exception to that is obviously food. Food stays typically the same. In times like we were just talking about, in times that are tougher, other food segments increase and sugary foods decrease. That's the only difference. But people are still going to eat, still going to have Christmas, still going to have Thanksgiving. Halloween candy's still going to go out. It's just the other things. Are you going to have as many costumes, or how they're going to be affected? Or people are going to buy as many costumes? What's the popular toy this year? All those things. Those are already established, and they can very drastically change quickly. Without even talking about the new things that TikTok has been doing or Temu has been doing. I don't know. I sent you that. I think I sent you that one. Joanna was talking about. There's some fantastic things going on their segments and their marketplaces that they're really analyzing what people like to the point where the Gap will take 6 months to figure out which button would be the best for a shirt, while now TikTok is able to let Temu know through their alliance, I guess, within like 30 seconds of what the best 6 designs are going to be this year.
You know what the kind of creepy thing is, though, is that like at what point does like the signal, like at what point is it a signal, and at what point are you essentially now just leading? Because at some point, if people believe, right, and so like think about this way. People will go to places like Walmart and Costco because they've done an exceptional job of highlighting their price leadership, right? Like low cost, rollbacks, best value, whatever. It is quite easy. And if you don't believe me, you go check it yourself. Look at some things that you think are a great deal at Walmart, or look at some stuff that you think is a great deal at Costco. And it's not to say that they aren't, or that maybe those particular products are, but try to get a sense, and then go into some other stores and look at some of the pricing and compare some of the different packaging formats and stuff. Very often you find that every store ends up having their own kind of like benefit, kind of like bundles, let's call it that way. But point being, Walmart and Costco have really entrenched people to believe that, barring any other evidence, their default is to believe that like this is the best value, this is the best price. So I'm kind of curious from like these Temus and Shein, is that like, is it really what they're getting from customers all the time anyway? Is it really what they're getting from customers all the time for,
or is it what they're pushing?
Or is it what they're going to push? And then people are like, well, it's on Temu, it's on Shein. It's like, it must be the hot new thing. I better get mine because they just offered it to me for free, essentially.
I'll give you 2 great examples. You probably heard of this. If you haven't, I mean, we can add the link later, but Payless Shoes did this experiment a few years ago where they opened up a store and they called it something fancy. I forget what they called it. They took all their Payless shoes and they made them look fancy, and they called them designer shoes and everything else. And they put extraordinary price tags on it. And it was like, these are the new next things from Italy and or from wherever else. And people were just like, oh my God, these are the best shoes ever. They're going in, and the perceived value for the exact same shoe that Payless had, that people were like, we're going crazy over. Because they put a different branding spin on it that people automatically assumed there was greater value to it. On the flip side, there was a guy in New York that did the same similar experiment where they created an exclusive restaurant, and it was supposed to be like this amazing, I think I want to say it was as ramen or something along those lines. And all it was a Minute Maid ramen. They were making the soup, and people were going, oh my God, it's the best ramen I've ever tasted, because they put out very fine silverware. They made the restaurant look very exclusive, and they made it very hard to get into, and they made a very big buzz about it. And people automatically thought this has to be, this tastes like my $1 ramen that I buy, but it has to be something different because I'm eating it with fine china. And it's the same thing that you're talking about, is that push and pull of that mentality. Is value is only there based off of what your perception is and what you're willing to do. Unless you really question that value. Same as a service. Like if you are absolutely love the service that you're getting, does it take it away that you're paying more or less than the other brand next to you? I don't think it should, right? As long as it's fair market value, that few $100, $200, a couple of, as long as that value is there for you and you're getting that what you want, it's more of a perception piece, right?
Well, it's one of the psychological biases. It's like transference, right? It's the same thing. Crystal Skull vodka, the first time it came out or whatever, they just took this dank vodka that like was like low end, essentially, dress it up, super fancy packaging, all of this stuff. All of a sudden, it was like the best thing people had ever tasted. Yep. And wine is another one for this. Like people, most people could not tell you the difference between an $8 bottle of wine and a $100 bottle of wine. They wouldn't be able to tell the difference in a blind taste test. Most people, most of the time. But if they know the price, they will almost 100% of the time choose the $100 bottle of wine as being the better one. So I agree with you, but that's actually one of the reasons why, I think a lot in the type of work that we do, like in the logistics, the operations whole space, is that like you can get a lot more value from like simple things that just create a different kind of perception, a different type of quality, something that other people aren't doing. And it doesn't mean you have to have like this super expensive system, or you don't have to do a lot of different things. You just, you kind of, you link together and you stitch together all of these things that just make people be like, everything there was on point. It was well done. It was not what I was expecting. It was not what other people do at this range or whatever. And you immediately are perceived better.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree with that entirely. And on that note, because we are at time and we're conscious of everybody's time, John, is that your final thought? I think that's your final. I think
that was a good one. Like, run with that. Like, yeah, like go make some more money with that one.
Drop the mic the second time.
Yeah,
you had good jokes. Now you have this. Like, I think we're set.
I'm done for the week. I'm gonna retire this week.
John's not posting all week. He's on the Matt hiatus now.
He's on the Matt hiatus. Yeah, actually, I didn't. Yeah, I don't think I don't really have anything that's like super top of mind. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. On that note, thanks everybody for joining. As always, we'll see you next week. Same channel, same doc, same everything, and same people. If you want to come join us, come say hi.
Oh yeah, let us know.